Today, we're joined by Darrell D. Wichers, author of Choices, God's Greatest Gifts. Thank you for joining us, Darrell. What can you tell us about your new book?
This all started many, many years ago when I was at a Christian men's retreat, and they had a speaker, and I was in attendance. And this speaker was talking about how God had made us all the spiritual beings, and we were meant to live forever. And then he picked up a piece of chalk, and behind him was a blackboard, and he drew a long horizontal line across the blackboard and said, "This is time. It's infinite. It goes on forever." And then he turned back around and he raised his hand and said, "In my hand is an invisible razor blade." And he turned around and he made a stroke through the timeline with the razor blade and turned back and said, "This is the amount of time we spend on Earth in a physical form." And I got thinking about that. If God made us as a spiritual being to live forever, why did he place us in these physical bodies for a short period of time? And then, as the Bible states, at the end of our life, we either go to heaven or hell. And I thought, wouldn't it have made more sense just to keep us in heaven? So over the years, this question was on my mind, and I did some research and some readings, but never really found anything that answered that question correctly in my mind. And then years later, one evening, I started getting a download of information in my mind. And I realized that this information was information I didn't know. And the second I made the statement of where's this information coming from, I realized that it was coming from God. And God was kind of sharing me or answering the question I had about why did he create us and put our spirits into physical bodies. So I knew also at that time that he wanted me to write about this. Well, I'm not a writer. I've never really written anything, but I wrote down the title, Choices, God's Greatest Gift. You did get that. And some questions. And over a few years, I added more questions to it. And this is what started me down the path to write this book.
What's the inspiration behind writing this book?
The book was written to get people to think about why God placed us in this physical world for a short period of time. We know that there's good and evil in the world, and I talk about that, how Satan influences and how God wants to guide us, but they're not going to make you do anything. God gave us free will, the right to choose. That's why my book is called Choices, God's Greatest Gift. It is a great gift. In this physical world, this time we're here, this for a short period of time. Some people die early and some people die later in life. But we're all going to experience the same thing. What's next? We're either going to get to go to heaven or we're going to get to go to the other place, which is probably not very pleasant and God's not there. But I'm going to touch on 21 different chapters, and each chapter is a question. And the content of these chapters is going to answer that question to give you kind of some clarity about why we're here in this physical world for a short period of time, the relationships between the spiritual environment and the physical environment. There is interaction between the two. And it's all made to make you think, nothing more. It doesn't matter whether you believe in God or not. These things I believe are real, and God wanted me to kind of share this with you and just to get you to think, nothing more. Of the 21 chapters I have, one of them is, how do you know that you're a spirit being in a physical body? I'll give you some examples that will kind of show that. I'll also talk about who Satan is. Where did he come from? How does he influence us? He just influences. He can't make you do anything, but he can sure influence you, and he's very good at it. And on the other side, God's going to kind of guide you, and you understand what these voices sound like in your head. And I talk about that and kind of guide you. Again, it's you choose what you want to believe, what you want to do. In my research, I read an article about a gentleman who had died. He went to heaven, visited for a while, saw family and friends, and then was sent back to earth, back to his body, because it wasn't his time. I didn't know too much about a near-death experience or NDE, so I did a lot of research in it. And I found that there's thousands, tens of thousands of people who have experienced this, and I wanted to know what was common. What I found was their experience or their death experience was unique to them, but the spiritual environment they were in was common to everyone. Didn't matter what religion you were, what part of the world you were from, that spiritual environment was the same. So I talk about that and give you some examples of what they saw, what they felt, what they heard, and I think you'll find that interesting. One of my chapters, I talk about why is there time on earth and not in heaven? You'll find this one interesting. I talk about why everything on earth is temporary. Everything on earth is made up of 118 elements found in the periodic table chart. Like our bodies, they're about 69, almost 70% of it is water. That's H2O. And the rest of it is trace elements, calcium, a few other things. And we are fused into this body, and it erodes over time. And then we die, and we go into the spirit world. And at that point in time, we're going to go one of two places. Either heaven, where it's peaceful and great, or the other place where God doesn't exist, and you're on your own. So I talk about these different things, and it's all about choices. It's your choice. It doesn't matter if you're a religious person or not, you believe in God, you don't. There's information in this book that will just get you to think about these things in this physical world. And that's why I wrote this book.
What else would you like to share about your book?
Yeah, there's a couple of things I'd like to touch on. One is God gave us all unique gifts, and we may not know what they are. But usually these gifts are something that we have an interest in or that we're good at, and we need to kind of find out what they are and use them in our life. Some people are good at building things. Some people have a great memory, or they're good at math, or they're artistic. They can create things. Some people are good writers, good communicators, good leaders. Figure out your gifts. God gave them to you and use them in your life. It will make your life better. And again, it's all about choices. Just kind of figure it out. Through my life and while I was writing this book, which has taken a few years, I learned a lot of things about myself. And I came up with a saying. And the saying is, always do your best and trust in God to do the rest. There's two parts to this saying. The first part, always do your best, is never give up. Always move forward. God doesn't want you to give up. Keep moving forward. Use the gifts He's given you. If you run up to a barrier, go around it, go over the top of it. Just keep going. Don't quit. The second part, trusting God to do the rest, emphasizes faith. Faith is kind of hard to apply. I know I kind of been down that road, and I learned some things. That means if you come into a situation that you have no control of, you lose your job. You run out of money. You get in a car accident, your car is destroyed. You have a loved one who passed away. There's a lot of things that we don't have control of. You pray to God and ask for His guidance and His help, or open a door to get you a new job. A lot of times, just believe that God is there. He is. It may not happen right away. In some cases, it can. Other times, it could take days, months, or years to happen. So just have faith and trust that God will get you through it, but don't give up. My book is about choices. You get to choose your path. And I hope this book gives you some insights into things that maybe you never thought about or you wondered about. And I wanted to help people. It's your choice. You have free will. Go down the path, and at the end of your life, you're going to have one of two locations you're going to go to. One is great, one is not so great. But you get to pick your path.
Thank you, Darrell D. Wichers, for the insightful look inside your new book, Choices, God's Greatest Gift. Be sure to purchase your copy today by simply scanning the QR code on screen.